Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I have a success tip that's really about, hey, you should just be a grown-up and be responsible. And that's not as easy as it sounds, because really the question is, who's responsible for all the stuff that has to get done at the client's office? Well, here's the problem. If you're in charge of managed services, if you're in charge of managing their entire network, well, ultimately, if you're aware of it, you may not be responsible for doing it, but you are responsible for making sure you know who is doing it. The easiest example, obviously, is backups. If you are managing the client's equipment, you should be responsible for backups. Now, you can say, oh, we put in this BDR and it takes a snapshot every day, and so I just believe that it's working. Okay. That is not taking responsibility. Somebody needs to test that and verify that your team can get data off of that BDR, mount an image, and put the client back in business if they need to. That is your responsibility. Unless you've hired somebody else to do that, it is absolutely your responsibility. Okay, that one was easy. Here's one that's a little murkier and actually motivated this. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they mentioned that they were working with somebody and they said, so what about the security component? And that other vendor said, oh, that's something that the developer is taking care of. And they thought, really? So went and talked to the developer, who said, they were like, yeah, so what are you doing about security? And they said, I'm not doing anything about security. That's not part of these job specs. That's not part of this project. So that's a perfect example of something where somebody thinks that somebody else is doing it. And there's an old line along the lines of, everybody thought somebody was doing it, and so nobody thought that they should do it. And as a result, nobody was doing it, even though everybody assumed somebody was doing it. You need to be the somebody. You need to be the one who takes responsibility for these things. If you know that your client should be PCI compliant, you just have to find out how that is happening. Remember, whether you like it or not, we're in an era where you are the compliance officer. The state laws require it. The federal laws are beginning to require it. More and more and more, if you manage the IT, you manage a lot of things that are not directly related to this computer and that network and infrastructure, right? Infrastructure is literally your job 15 years ago. It is not your job today, or it's not your entire job today. So when you think about things like CMMC, HIPAA compliance, PCI compliance, whatever comes up, if you are aware that somebody should be doing something, hey, it doesn't hurt to, open a document and start saying, okay, what are the major tasks that we don't do that somebody else does, and then list who that vendor is. Because a lot of times there's things like updating checklists to verify that you've done everything you need to do so that your insurance can legally be renewed because you've checked all those yes boxes, right? Who is doing that? And you might want to say, well, no, it's the client's responsibility. Well, the client has not hired a bunch of vendors so that they can second guess them and worry about all the things that they're doing. This is a great opportunity for you to step up into vendor management if you have not already. And vendor management can literally be as simple as, I'm the person who keeps the list of all the things that somebody's got to do. And I'll put our name in, I'll put my company in where we do this, right? We're responsible for the network, we're responsible for the router, we're responsible for the internet connection, we're responsible for the backups. Great. We are not responsible for PCI compliance, but we can help you with that. We can work with that. I can make sure that I, talk to that vendor and say, hey, make sure that you get some paperwork on this and that we have verification, blah, blah, blah. You should know these things because when in doubt, you literally want the client to turn to you when there's a question and say, what are you doing or what are we doing with this? And it's completely legitimate to say, well, this other vendor is handling that piece of it. If you want me to work with them, I will. If you want me to manage them, I will. If you want me to just, go talk to them and find out whether they've finished that paperwork for this year, I can do that. The more you're involved in helping to manage the other vendors, the stickier you are and the more you become part of the client's team. Ultimately, whether you hold the title or not, you want to be the virtual CIO. You want to be the person who is in charge of all things technology or anything that's on the periphery that touches technology. Remember, if somebody has to do it, ultimately, you can make money by being the person who says, I will make sure if I don't do it, I at least know who does. Something to think about. Comments and questions are always welcome. Like it if you like it. Subscribe to the channel. And I would love to have any comments or questions that you have down below. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Polishuk, wishing you the best of luck in everything you do.